Alright guys, so the Lantern Corps, bro, they're in shambles right now. And it's not just the Green Lanterns losing their grip. Jon Stewart's out here fighting for his life. Nobody can trust their own ring, powers are wild, and enemies are flipping sides left and right. And honestly, did someone just drop a Yu-Gi-Oh card in the middle of a space war? Because the chaos is unreal. Welcome back to Keepin' It Comic, and today, we're getting you caught up with Green Lantern Corp 2025. Alright, so before we jump into this new Green Lantern Corp series, let's get caught up real quick. Because if you're wondering why the rings are acting weird, or how the Corps is even back, trust me, you're not alone. So not too long ago, things really got bad for the Green Lanterns. The central power battery straight up exploded, leaving most of the Corp powerless and scattered across the galaxy. The emotional spectrum, totally unstable. Rings are glitching, vanishing, or just not working at all. Jessica Cruz had to survive without a ring. Jon Stewart unlocked some wild god-tier powers. And the United Planets? Yeah, they weren't helping. They were actually behind a lot of the mess. Their leader, Theros, sabotaged all the major power batteries across the different corps. Total wipeout. But of course, the Lanterns didn't stay down. Hal Jordan forged his own ring out of pure willpower, led a rebellion, and after the dust settled, boom, they got their light back. Hal had a spare Green Lantern central power battery hidden away, and now the Corps is back online, stronger than ever, but also different. Jessica Cruz is basically running things now, and the new mission? Restore the emotional spectrum before it collapses again. And that's where this new threat comes in. There's a villain out there named Sorrow. Yes, Sorrow. And he's trying to build his own power battery fueled with raw grief. With the emotional spectrum still fractured, the rings aren't actually stable. And nobody knows what other emotions might start popping off next. So yeah, the Corps is back, but they've got a hell of a cosmic mess to clean up. So look, this starts with these people on a ship and someone's begging for their children. And this guy's like, yes, your children, they will fetch a great deal 2 sectors over. And the alien's like, but you can't. And this dude straight up smacks him in the face with a staff and says, can't? Can't? With the United Planets falling apart, Kinjaro can do what he wants and no one is here to stop him. And someone says, no one? Kinjaro, my name is Jon Stewart. And you are hereby under arrest by the authority of, and he don't even let him finish. My man starts shooting with a staff. Kind of reminds me of the Power Rangers. They tend to turn anything into a gun nowadays. But anyway, they're shooting and Jon's like, nah bro, shoot at my limited edition all green Kryptonian Superman that I just made out of my ring. And Kinjaro's out of there. Jon's like, you're going to run and leave your henchmen here to deal with me? Wow, okay, that's a choice. A bad one, but a choice. And while Jon's in here treating all these henchmen like bowling pins, Kinjaro's like, if I can move to hyperspace, even that green menace won't be able to stop me. So he jumps in his spaceship and he's like, ha, you should have brought backup. And then you see a green light and someone says, let's try that again. Conjuro, you're under arrest by the authority of the Green Lantern Corps. And you can see Jon brought the whole team with him. He said, we ain't playing one-on-one. But back at Sector 0, Joe approaches Jon. And before we get too far, keep an eye on that blue water guy in the back. Because in the next frame, he definitely doubles in size. But anyway, Joe's like, where are the rest of the minions? Jon says, we've been leaving the smaller criminals with the local authorities while the masterminds like this head straight into the science cells. At least until we can fill out the ranks. And this guy's like, you think I'm a mastermind? And while Jon puts the ring powers right over his mouth to tell him basically to shut up, that guy in the back explodes. And she's like, hey Jon, I know you've been through a lot the last couple of months between your mom and he's like, it's fine. Now, I just want to say that water guy had no significance, but the fact that he exploded and now he's a baby is hilarious. Even more hilarious is, what are they feeding him? A Green Lantern bottle? That doesn't even make sense. But anyway, Jon heads to the Great Hall, where he meets a construct of his younger sister Ellie, who looks way younger than we're used to. But she's like, hey, Kelly is smart. You should see everything she put together. And Jess walks in saying, it'll have to wait. Jon responds, Jess, what's going on? She says, Kelly, pull up file 652.1. And oh man, we find out some information here. See, Jess says, Nathan Broom, aka the Sorrow, we've established that he's an aberration, a splinter of the main emotional spectrum. We also established that Emo Lantern here is trying to make a central power battery just like ours. One that, if turned on, will likely destroy the emotional spectrum, maybe the universe. After cracking the code on the Book of Oa, Lantern Gardner has given us a list of objects that the Sorrow might go after to construct that battery, which we're dispatching teams to guard even as we speak. Jon says, good, tell me where to go, and she interrupts. No, we have something else for you to do. He says, what could be more important than this? And she tells him, without the other central power batteries, the emotional spectrum has become wild. Anyone could manifest rage, hope, fear, making them a virtual time bomb of emotional energy. That combined with the Tamaranian physiology, well, Jon, I need you to figure out what's igniting all that terror. Find out who is doing this and contain them. I put together a team, and I need you to leave as soon as you can. He says, roger that. So who's on the team? And he hears, who else, Jon Stewart? If fear is involved, Sinestro will be your guide. So we get to Tamaran, and man, this big yellow creature is throwing black fire all around. Thankfully, Jon was there to catch her. He says, I'm Jon Stewart from the Green Lantern Corps. We're here to help. So after a little back and forth between Sinestro and Blackfire, Jon's like, look, so instead of antagonizing the Queen, why don't you go show us why you were once called the greatest Green Lantern in the Corps? And us? We keep that construct from destroying half of Tamaran. So look, Sinestro's on the hunt, and he finds the person he's looking for. She's like, please, don't let X-Hall judge me. Keep her away. And while she's begging, Sinestro's like, quit blabbering. I'm Sinestro, and you have the ability to channel great fear. But I wonder, do you have the willpower to control it? That is not your god. That is a construction you have birthed from your mind. Do you understand? And she's still going on about how she's scared. And Sinestro says, being afraid is not a weakness. Fear is a sharpening stone that hones the blade of your mind. Being a Green Lantern isn't about never feeling fear. She says, I thought Green Lanterns were never afraid. And he responds, it's about overcoming it. So, can you overcome it? And she does just that. But Blackfire's like, you're the cause of this? And I'm sorry, but yo, Sinestro's face reminds me of Andy's mother when she first gets Chucky to talk and she's like, I'm gonna throw you in the fire. But he says, if ever there was a candidate, Lantern Stewart. And he responds, well then, you have the extraordinary ability to overcome great fear. The Green Lantern Corps would be honored to have you among our ranks. And then Jon says, you should feel proud, Your Highness. One of your own becoming a Green Lantern. And she responds, I'm always proud, Jon Stewart, and I am also undeterred when I find something I want. But we know Jon, so he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm out of here. So he goes back to base, and Jess tells him, we have another mission for you, one of political importance, one that you've been asked to help with by name. The Thanagarians have sent a royal envoy to join you as you head back to Thanagar and see if we can help them savage what's left of their homeworld. And the look on Jon's face, Thanagar, and she says, hey Jon, long time no see. So anyway, Jon, Hawkwoman, and two other Green Lanterns make their way to Thanagar. And what do they see? The planet is destroyed. But as they're looking around, Jon has this look on his face and he says, look alive, we got company. And there's a huge ship. And who's on that ship? None other than Atrocitus, who by the way probably is my favorite Red Lantern. But before we go any further, real quick, I just want to say thank you. We see you guys showing up every week for our comic book breakdowns and it means more than you know. And if you've been enjoying the channel and want to support what we're building, you can now become a Keepin' It Comic channel member just by hitting the join button below the video. You'll get a badge, you stand out in the comments, many other perks, and it helps us grow even more. Or, if you prefer, we also have the link to our Patreon in the description of the video. Either way, you're helping grow Keepin' It Comic, so we can continue to keep bringing these videos every week. We appreciate you. Now, let's get back to it. He says the lanterns took everything from me. My powers, my world, my rage. My revenge will be all the sweeter when I take it back. And Dexter shows up saying, Atrocitus, the drill has pierced the thickest part of the remains of Thanagar. And as this is going on, the team's outside. Jon's like, okay, Kilowog, Razor, don't engage, just follow them. Kilowog says, and what are you gonna do, Stewart? And he flies off saying, take a look inside the ship. So as Jon and Hot Girl are walking, she pushes him into a closet and says, quiet. And I don't know how, but she heard Dexter running down the hall. And I just want to say, while they were in that closet, she looked like she was ready to risk the whole mission for Jon. But while this is all going on, in the main control room, someone's like, Atrocitus, I'm getting a strange reading. He says, where? They say, supply level. It might be a seal break. And he responds, or intruders. And Jon's like, okay, let's check the engine room. Maybe we can find a control terminal. See what they're doing. I can try to hotwire and all of a sudden, the alarm on the ship goes off. Hawkwoman says, we'll have to take faster measures. And she smashes right through the door. And who do we see? Zilius Zox. And while all this is going on, remember that hole that was put into the planet? Well, Atrocitus has a whole team down there who is clearly going through some depression right now. And Kilowog's like, what in the frag is going on down there? And Razor responds, I don't know. And he curls up in a ball and says, what does it matter? Without hope? Without rage? Without, what does it matter? And Sorrow makes the coolest entrance. He says, you see the pain of the universe now. But with this, Starbreaker says we can stop the pain. And Kilowog says, nah, the pain is just starting. And he smashes him to the ground with his ring. But at the same time, Zilius is screaming, going crazy on the ship. Jon says, he must have manifested Red Lantern energy. Hawkwoman says, without the power battery? And Jon says, yes, it's been happening all over the universe. A byproduct of having no central power batteries to focus the energies. He must have manifested the rage portion of the emotional spectrum. And without willpower, those people tend to explode. Hawkwoman says, the ninth metal is transferring the energy to the ship. Jon responds, siphoning it off before he can ever reach critical mass. And here comes Atrocitus with his red axe. Here's Johnny. No, but he's like clever, isn't it? And of course, they're not playing fair with him either. Atrocitus attacks Jon. He's like, Stewart, you beep. I knew the Green Lantern Corp would come eventually, trying to stop me once again. And he's like, watch your language in front of a lady. And she runs towards Atrocitus, saying worse language than Atrocitus even said. Even Jon's surprised. But Atrocitus says, you've come to take this ship away from us after you left us for dead? And Jon's like, dead? What are you talking about? We didn't do anything to... And she's like, step out of the way, Jon. And Atrocitus is pissed. He's like, lies. And as Atrocitus is attacking Jon and blocking Hawkwoman, don't forget, Kilowog's still underground fighting Sorrow. And I mean, there's smoke everywhere. Sorrow says, it's futile. It's all so futile. And Kilowog responds, no you don't. Your Sorrow energy may affect some. But I'm Kilowog, pal. Sorrow is a fact of life I accepted a long time ago. And he blows it all the way, and the underground cave starts crumbling. Sorrow says, I don't understand. And Kilowog responds, yeah, why don't you stick around and think about it for a while? Come on, Razor, we're getting out of here. And that same henchman from earlier that told Atrocitus someone had broken in? It's like, Atrocitus, something is happening outside. What remains of Thanagar is falling away, leaving some sort of sphere. And Atrocitus is still on a rampage. He's like, you lanterns want to take everything away from me. My power? Haven't you taken enough? And Jon's like, Atrocitus, you're wrong. We haven't done anything. And he says, lies. I was there. I saw what your kind did. They came to us as Red Lanterns, but changed, sabotaging our battery, our lifeblood. The Green Lantern Corp left us for dead. The arbiters of Galactus justice. relegated to genocide. Many died instantly, but our kind is not so easily culled. You know as well as I do, our hearts are inextricably tied to our power battery. Without it, we will perish. The few of us that have survived the explosion only did so because we held strong charge in our ranks. Even still, our energy waned. We were near death when they arrived. The slave traders. What little power we had left was used to keep us alive. There was not enough to put up a fight. We barely had enough to breathe. Our once great corps was diminished. The rage we felt was infinite. But there was one of our own who felt it more. Zilius Zox. We had power now. Power enough to take the ship and our revenge. And then, with the help of Thanagarian Ninth Metal, we learned we could channel the red energy from Zilius in order to power this vessel, to keep us alive. And I vowed we would get our lives back, our civilization. Jon's like Atrocitus. Those were United Planets and lanterns. We're not here to fight you. Hawkwoman says, he's not, but I am, as she smashes him through the wall into outer space. And Jon's like, nah, chill, stop. Mind you, the whole time these guys are fighting outside, this sphere's over here transforming into something that looks like the new winged dragon of Ra, I swear. And while this is all going on, Sorrow gets out of Dodge. He's like, nah, I'm not staying here. So look, Jon's like, Hawkwoman. She says, Horus is a god, the god of Thingarians. But he's been relegated to myth. Atrocitus says, and he's made entirely of Ninth Metal. Dexstar, kill that thing. And Dexstar says, you heard him, fire. And these idiots really fired on a gigantic god. I mean, it literally says, who dares attack a god? And you can see from the look in his eyes, he is pissed. And with one attack, man, he breaks the ship completely in half. Jon immediately puts kind of like a net around the whole ship, just holding it together. He's like, Harry, I don't know how long I can hold this. Atrocitus says, impossible. He flies right back into the ship. He says, with the ship torn in half, the system siphoning his powers are offline. Without them, he'll explode. Zilius, give me your energy, now. Hawkwoman says, it might be too much. Let me help you. And Atrocitus just slaps her out the way. He even says, out of the way. Take my rage. Take all of it. And he does just that. Atrocitus says, it's too much. Hawkwoman says, you damn fool. It's too much energy. You can't hold it. Atrocitus, you can't do this alone. Take my mace, now. And he does just that. And she says, it's working. The Ninth Metal is absorbing the energy. You did it, Atrocitus. You saved him. He responds, no, Hawkwoman. This is how the Red Lantern Corps dies. She says, you're not dead yet, though we'll see if you're worth the trouble. But don't forget, we got an angry god outside. He screams blasphemy shall be punished. And just then, he's struck by Hawkgirl, who says, Thanagar, forgive me. He says, who dares? She responds, I do, Shira of Thanagar. The god says, Thanagar, yes, the holy name, the crypt of my slumber, a sleep I should have stayed in for several more millennia. Have my people become so blasphemous as to strike their god? And she responds back, has my god become so weak that he would destroy the helpless? He responds, was it your sharp tongue that ended the world, child? She says, no, our world was destroyed by rage, by anger, and I've seen firsthand the damage it can do. Truth be told, I've wanted to do some of my own, but a friend reminded me what it is to be a hero, to be something more. Please, Horus, spare our lives. Spare us and I will tell your people you're alive. I will tell them of your heroism, of your mercy, not of your hate. He responds, you are a true child of Horus. Tell my people that I will find them a new home, and tell them it was because you have the heart of a warrior. She says, how will I find it? He responds, I will send you a dream, and when I do, bring what's left of my people, and you will start anew. And he takes off. And just then Jon says, everyone out. I can't hold this construct any longer. And as they're escaping, the whole ship explodes. Now back at base, Jon tells Atrocitus, you go into these Cairo chambers or everything you hold dear dies. Atrocitus responds, all while taking us off the board completely. How convenient for you. Razor says, there's no other choice. We'll find a way to keep you alive without your power eventually. Atrocitus says, yes, eventually. Razor says, Atrocitus, as someone who used to be one of you, trust me when I say there's so much more than anger if you have the will to control it. Atrocitus lashes out. Mark my words, both of you, we will regain our rage, grow our ranks, and have our revenge for what was taken from, and all of a sudden, he's frozen in a cryosthetic state. Now, Jon is not the only lantern going through it, because Guy and Simon, man, they're going through it right now. See, Guy, he's on a mission with a new recruit, and Simon, he's out trying to buy Kelly a psionic battery, whatever in the world that is. But long story short, they're both on Necrocopia, and they don't even know it. And I just want to say, I think it's crazy that Simon's driving around in a Green Lantern Energy Construct car styled after a Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Just want to say that's kind of nuts. But they walk into a store with this lizard's like, oh, Green Lanterns, to what do I owe this misfortune? Simon says, we're looking for a psionic battery. He responds, what makes you think I got one of those? Simon's like, cut the act. Enzo, the Corp knows this shop is the front for illegal junk. Kelly picks up an orb and says, what's this? Enzo says, oh, that? I'll gladly give it to you for that glove you're wearing. In fact, I'll give you that and a psionic battery in exchange. She drops it and says, no thanks. Simon says, counter offer. You sell us the psionic battery and we don't seize all your illegal goods. Enzo says, hold on a minute. Let me see what I can do. At the same time, Guy's at a different place on this planet, and these two guards are like, halt. He flicks them away with his ring and says, put your primitive pew-pews away. I'm here to see your boss. And someone says, who says he wants to meet you? And he responds, well, he is now. Or, I ripped this entire place apart until he does. Your choice. And you can see the new recruit is scared as can be. He's like, easy, Narf. They're going to let us through. We're the Green Lantern Corp. Which means sometimes you have to throw your weight around to get the job done. One of the grunts says, deck 5. They walk by and he says, thanks, fellas. See, Narf? Now keep up. And as they get off the elevator, Guy's like, and here I thought you were dead. And we see Evil Star just chilling. He goes, Guy Gardner. Yes, I'm sure it would appear so. But 1 star transfusion later, which cost me a fortune, and I'm right as rain. Guy says, and without your star band, you decided to get into trading business? He says, something like that. Guy says, you know, I could haul you into OA for everything you've done in this universe, and I'd be a hero. And Evil Star responds, but? And Guy says, not just a but, a huge Xantarian but. I need you to find someone for me. His name is Starbreaker, a Sun Eater that stole some things and is fixing to destroy the universe. You do that, I'll pretend I didn't see you. But if you don't, well, I think we know what will happen, don't we? And at this time, we jump back to the store where Enzo comes out and says, you're in luck. I've got 1 psionic battery left. Take it before I change my mind. And I don't think they realize this guy has sunglasses on now. Because Kelly says, hey, wait, this isn't. And all of a sudden, her and Simon are blinded and on the floor. Enzo says, no one tries to shake down Enzo. No one. Now let's see how you fare in the mind maze while I gather my new prize. What's this now? Now Ellie, she stayed in the car. She's like, Simon, Kelly, are you two all right? Your vitals have significantly dropped. Simon, let's try something a little different. Now mind you, Guy is still going through it. The new recruit's scared. He's like, is this part of your plan? Guy says, plan? Plans are for losers like Jordan or Stewart. Guy doesn't plan. He just gets the job done. And they're firing at his force field nonstop. And he goes, come on, ES, just stop. We both know there's nothing you have that can go through my shield. And he says, nothing? Behold, the quantum destabilizer. Guy says, give it your best shot. You fragging low-light piece of, and he gives it his best shot. And you see Guy goes flying. Now Enzo, he's still trying to get that arm. He's like, hey, this is Enzo. I think I got something big we can sell on the Obsidian market, but I need help assessing it. Tell the boss I need to borrow the quantum destabilizer, but tell him to hurry. And Simon, he wakes up finally. He's like, Kelly, watch Ellie, what's going on? Where's Kelly? And she says, somewhere, I'm still looking. He looks in the mirror and says, I remember this. She says, you should. We're inside your mind. I felt something strange and came to investigate, but couldn't find you. Not physically anyway. So I jumped inside your noggin. I can sort of hear what's happening outside, but not clearly. Whoever trapped you in here calls it a mind maze. He goes, what the hell is that? She said, a maze inside your mind, thus the name. I think here, if I could connect this maze to Kelly's, maybe you guys could work together to figure this out. He says, what happens if we don't get out of here? She responds, the mind maze was designed to make you confront your most traumatic experiences. If you don't complete it in an hour, your brain liquefies. And when they walk through the door, they see a Green Lantern talking to someone in a hood who says, you have to destroy the glove. Destroy it before it destroys everything. And the hooded figure says, no, that's not how this happened. This isn't right. And oh man, there was a lot going on in this. I mean, Jon having to try to trust Sinestro after everything they've been through, now because he's a Green Lantern again. You have Razor, who was a Red Lantern, who is now a Green Lantern as well. We had Atrocitus trying to save his people, but still being Atrocitus. We don't know if Dexter is even still alive. We have a literal friggin' god out here, looking like something off of Yu-Gi-Oh! Flying off. And I mean, I don't even know what's going on with Guy and Simon, but I just get the feeling they like being arrogant and being in trouble. But look, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps us with the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown. Want to keep the convo going? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're always reading and replying. And if you're looking to connect with the community, hop in our Discord, follow our socials, and check out the merch. We got all the links down below. And as always, thanks for kicking it with Keeping It Comic. I'll catch you in the next one.